Welcome to our FC Kids online service. I'm excited about our Bible adventure today. I want to know, have you ever had to hit a target before? Have you ever hit a target with a bow and arrow or a slingshot? Well, in our Bible adventure today, we're going to hear about a young guy who hit a huge target, but it was because God used him to do incredible things and God helped him be brave. Let's get started. First, we're going to worship. So get ready to praise our awesome God together. Here we go.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Whoa, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Whoa, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you, I worship you. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Whoa, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Whoa. Whoa. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Sing it loud now. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Whoa, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are, yeah.
God's story, David and Goliath. So part of God's story is about the time David fought Goliath, and it begins like this. David was the youngest of 8 brothers. His job was being a shepherd, which meant he spent all day in a field watching sheep eat and roll around the grass. Meanwhile, some of his brothers were off with the Israeli army preparing for war against the Philistines. The Philistines were one of the toughest armies the people of Israel had to fight. So one day, David was taking food to his brothers because his dad asked him to. But when he got there, his brothers accused him of coming so he could watch the fight instead of the sheep. Since David knew in his heart he was just obeying his dad, he didn't mind being misunderstood. Anyway, while David was there, he saw a huge Philistine man, more than 9 feet tall, step onto the field between the two armies. He was wearing a thick helmet and armor and carrying huge weapons. His name was Goliath, and he was definitely used to being the winner. David found out that Goliath had been stepping onto the field like this every morning for the past 40 days and saying, "Give me a man and let us fight each other." But nobody from Israel was brave enough to fight him, even the king. Well, David didn't like that this giant was intimidating the Israelites. After all, they were God's special family. And because God was with the Israelites, they could have courage in any situation. So David, who wasn't even a soldier, told the king, "I'll fight against him." Now, the king thought David was too small, but he really wanted someone to fight Goliath. So he gave in. And David knew he wasn't strong enough to beat Goliath by himself, but he believed God would be with him. So he said, "The Lord will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." The king hoped David was right. He even had his own weapons and armor put on David, but they didn't fit him. David decided to go into battle in his regular clothes. That's how sure he was that God would help him. Anyway, David went to a nearby stream and chose 5 smooth stones to use with his slingshot. Then he walked onto the battlefield to meet the massive Goliath. When Goliath saw how wimpy David looked, he was furious. He thought he'd get to fight the Israelites' strongest warrior. He said to David, "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? I'll give your flesh to the birds and wild animals." David might have looked like a wimp, but he was actually really brave. In fact, he was so brave that when he was taking care of sheep, he fought off bears and lions. Because God helped him protect his sheep, David knew God would help him protect this special family. David said, "You come at me with a sword, but I come at you with the name of the Lord Almighty." He was explaining to Goliath that God was more powerful than anything. He also added that he would feed Goliath's flesh to the birds, which made the giant even more mad. Then David took a stone, put it in the slingshot, and slung it at Goliath. Goliath didn't even get a chance to swing a sword because the stone hit him right in the forehead and sunk in deep. He face-planted straight into the ground. Nobody could believe it. Then David ran over, took hold of the giant's sword, and drew it from the sheath. He took the sword and cut off Goliath's head. David carried the head all the way back to Jerusalem. And when the Philistine army realized Goliath was dead, they started running away like a bunch of scaredy cats. The Israelites chased the Philistines, shouting loudly. They had won. God used David, who was just an average kid, to rescue his people. And that's the story of David and Goliath. So, in case you missed it, here's the quick version. David was a shepherd. He brought his brothers lunch. He saw Goliath. Goliath scared everybody. David wasn't scared. He knew God was stronger. David fought Goliath. He used one stone. God helped him kill Goliath. The Israelites won. God's people were saved. And that's a part of God's story.
Holy guacamole.
Welcome to Grow TV. Introducing your host, Carl.
And your co-host, Cassie. Where we learn, where we grow, and we talk about Jesus. Once again, welcome to Grow TV.
I can't believe that. It was, and then it was just, wow. And then
Hey, Carl.
Cassie, I'm so glad you're here. I have so much to tell you.
Okay, calm down. What happened?
The most glorious thing. Do you remember what we learned about last week?
David becoming king?
Exactly. Well, I just read the next chapter today, and
Really? What happened?
well, the nation of Israel was at war with the Philistines, and David's older brothers were fighting with the Israelite army.
David wasn't fighting?
Nope. he was still just a kid. He was a shepherd, which meant he took care of sheep. I learned that because I'm a genius.
So what did David do next?
Well, he was told to bring food to his brothers, but when he got there, he saw a giant of a man. This giant's name was Goliath.
That's right, I remember his name. He was a Philistine, right?
Correct, and he was a real bad guy. But the thing is, everyone was afraid to fight him, even the king.
I can imagine. What happened next?
Well, get this. David went into the king and told him, I'll fight the giant.
David? The youngest brother? The shepherd boy? That's crazy.
Right? Well, the king said yes, and David went to get ready, but he was so small that the armor didn't even fit him. But David didn't even need armor, because he knew God would protect him.
Wow, that takes a lot of faith.
Sure does. So David walked out in front of Goliath, and Goliath looked at David and started to laugh. But then David said, you come at me with the sword, but I come at you in the name of the Lord Almighty.
So Goliath had a sword? What did David have?
He had 5 stones and a slingshot. He learned to use his slingshot when he had to protect his sheep from bears and lions.
Oh, I see.
So Goliath was on his way to attack David, but David put that stone in the sling and swung it around just like this, released it, and that stone went right in between Goliath's eyes. David walked over, grabbed Goliath's sword, killed Goliath, and he saved all the Israelites.
Whoa, I can't believe that.
Right? The Israelites won.
Well, yeah, but I was thinking something else was even more incredible.
More incredible than Goliath being defeated?
Actually, yeah.
Like what then?
Well, what was David gifted at?
Well, he knew how to throw rocks with a sling.
That's right, he was really good at that. That was his gift, and God used that.
He also knew how to use his brains in battle.
That's right, David was creative and smart. He used what he did know how to do to figure out something he didn't know how to do.
So God used David's gift to defeat the Philistines and to help others.
You got it. And I think it's important that we find out what our gifts are and use them for God.
That's a good idea.
So, do you have any gifts, Carl?
Gifts? Of course I have gifts.
All right, what are they?
Watch and learn. And voila.
Wow, that was really cool.
Thanks. I know. I'm pretty impressive.
Yeah, sure. So, how do you use those things for God?
What do you mean?
I mean, all of that is great, but if we have talents and gifts and we don't use them for God, what's the point?
I guess I never really thought of it that way.
Yeah, we just can't forget that God is the one who gave us those gifts in the first place. So it's our job to use them for God.
Wow, you're right. I guess I just need to remember that God can use my gifts.
You know what? That sounds a lot like our big idea this week.
You're right. That's our big idea. Today's big idea is a big one.
It's that God can use my gifts.
So on the count of 3, we're all going to say the big idea together. 1, 2, 3. God can use my gifts. All right. You did it. Woohoo! That's good. Today's lesson sure was fun.
It sure was, but I'm kind of bummed
Really? Why?
because I never got to show my gift.
Oh, well, it's not too late. What's your gift?
I can disappear.
Are you serious?
Yep.
You're telling me you can disappear?
Yeah, you want to see?
Yeah, I would love to see that. I would love to see you Cassie? Cassie! This isn't funny! Okay. Well, I guess I'll see you guys next week. I have to go find Cassie.
Hey, Carl.
Thank you for watching, and tune in next week for a new episode of Grow TV.